he did in that frame, and Neil put a good long ride and made a frame-winning break.
Well, when you look back at Neil Robertson's history in this event, this is his 4th quarter-final. He's never managed to get over it, and his opinion of that, I suppose, is that the opponents that he's come up against have always managed to raise the game at the right time. But what's your view of that record, Stephen, as a man who's won it, what, 6 times?
Yeah, he'll be disappointed he hasn't done better, because he always he's been world champion. He likes the big stage. He'd want to prove himself against the other best players in the world. So yeah, he'll be wanting to sort of improve that record quickly. And
in terms of his consistency this season, he reckons he's 50% better player than he was even 12 months ago. How do you rate the way he's gone about his business over the last few months?
He's just become a fantastic competitor. He seems to give every match 100%, and he never seems to. He never seems to lose a match that you wouldn't expect him to lose. He goes through steady. The only people he's losing to are really like the other top players, as it were. But just a fierce competitor. Even in the PTCs, he's given those tournaments 100% as well.
He's quite an analytical character, because I did read that after he was beaten in the semi-final at the UK Championship by Judd Trump made a comment that he thought that Neil had played quite slowly, and I think he's determined that he's going to speed things up and play more of his natural game against his opponents, and he seemed to do that against Mark Allen in the first round.
I wouldn't say he was a slow player, but he does give the game respect, and he's always looking at ways to improve his game, and he puts everything into his career, which is fantastic. He knows a lot about. He's very knowledgeable about snooker, all the results, all the stats. So there's nothing lacking in respect of getting to the top or getting where he wants to be.
Okay, well, this seems to be a major hurdle for him, and he's hoping to continue his form in this one. 3-1 up against the world #2 Mark Williams. But this time yesterday afternoon we watched an absolutely devastating performance by Judd Trump against his idol Ronnie O'Sullivan. What are the repercussions, we think, of this?
It's the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan. He's the ace in the pack. He's Judd Trump.
Judd Trump takes the opening frame. It's 1-0.
Ronnie O'Sullivan looks a wee bit intimidated today.
133.
What a fabulous clearance from young Judd Trump. He leads Ronnie O'Sullivan 4 frames to 0. Oh, this is tough. That is a sensational pot. Big frame, this.
Needs us to come away from the jaws.
He has conceded, so Judd Trump now leads 5-1. What an effort from Ronnie O'Sullivan. His back was right against the wall. 5-1 down. What does he do? He makes the highest break in this year's Masters. That's careless. Judd was looking for one chance to close this match out. It's been a fabulous display of snooker from this young man. The rising star of snooker gets himself into the semi-final of this year's Masters, beating Ronnie O'Sullivan 6 frames to 2.
I think when I go 1 or 2 frames ahead, I've got that confidence just to keep knocking the balls in and keep scoring over and over again. And today, I've done that the first 4 frames, and even in the second session, I hardly missed a ball. So I think that's all part of the confidence.
He played a great game. All credit has to go to him. There's nothing you can say. 140s, that 60-odd break in the last clearance under pressure. There's a bit of everything in there today, so all credit to him for playing a really good match.
Well, Ronnie certainly went down fighting, and there's no disputing the quality of that 1-4-1 in the penultimate frame. But that respected snooker journalist Dave Hendon tweeted after that match quite simply, "Torch passed." I think we know what he means. Was it that significant, do you think, that result for snooker?
I think it was a significant result for Judd, obviously playing Ronnie in front of a London crowd and a big occasion and beating him. But Ronnie for me was just a little bit flat, I thought. I mean, Ronnie doesn't miss blacks off a spot like he did in the first frame, and that gave Judd a huge boost of confidence.
And just looking at Judd's performance overall, the speed at which he played, the fluency with which he played, and we already made the point that the first 4 frames were over in the blink of an eye, 42 minutes. It was quite extraordinary to watch.
Yeah, the confidence that you can see, it's just oozing out of him. He's just no fear whatsoever. And as I say, that scrappy first frame, once that was out of the way, he just went from strength to strength.
And in terms of the Masters and favourites here in London, you know, you've had the likes of Alex Higgins, who passed the mantle to Jimmy White, who then passed it to Ronnie O'Sullivan. Is this the mantle now being passed, do you think, to Judd Trump?
Well, as I've said a couple of times, he's thrown the gauntlet down to the rest of them, hasn't he? You know, he's saying, I'm going to try and win every single tournament, and you guys have got to stop me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, John Parrott's in the media room now. John, how do our colleagues there assess the significance of that victory yesterday?
Yes, quite right, down with the journos here, people who put the words in your newspapers and over your airways. And Hector, is it a change into the guard, the way Judd Trump's come along?
Well, I think it has felt a bit like that, John, ever since the World Championships, really. And the thing about Judd is he's backing it up. He backs up his China Open win with a great run at the Crucible. He's backed that up by winning the UK, and now he's having another very good run here. And it does seem to be a real opportunity for Judd. He's, apart from Ding, who's a couple of years older, there is no proven winner around his age group, and he's got every chance of doing great things over the next few years. OK, thanks. Phil Studd's here with us, and you've seen quite a few snooker balls over there. This boy's very impressive, isn't it? It's been a rapid rise.
Well, it's hard to believe, isn't it, John, that it's less than a year ago that people were just beginning to wonder whether Trump would realise his ridiculously huge natural talent on the big stage. And then suddenly, as Hector mentioned, it all clicked in China, didn't it? He won the China Open, and that just seemed to give him perhaps the match play confidence that he was lacking, and he's never looked back. You know, he dazzled everyone with his potting at the World Championship, came within an ace of winning it, and he's just gone from strength to strength since then, winning the UK Championship, twice beating O'Sullivan in major events back to back. The world's his oyster.
Thanks, Phil. And Jamie, of course, the thing is, he's backed it up here, but also he seems to bring his practice game to the main table, doesn't he, which is an art in itself.
Well, it is. I mean, he plays without any fear, doesn't he, at the moment? Maybe that's, the audacity of youth. But as Philip said there, I mean, he's played really well. He played incredibly well to beat Mark Allen in the UK Championship when he reeled off all those frames. I think what's exciting about him is the fact that he knows he can still improve areas of his game. He wants to do that. He just doesn't just want to win a couple of titles. He wants to be one of the greats. He wants to be a legend. And I think it's exciting times ahead for him.
Is he the best player in the world, and will he win the World Championship?
I think he is in terms of confidence and form at the moment. Can he win a world title? He probably will, but I still think John Higgins is going to be the man to stop in Sheffield.
OK, boys, thank you very much. Well, I think he's pretty good down here, and so do we.
Absolutely, John. OK, well, I'm sure Judd's style of play and the way he attacks the snooker game is going to inspire a lot of youngsters to take up this sport, just as he, in turn, of course, was inspired by the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan and a certain Stephen Hendry sitting in this studio. But there are lots of avenues now opening up into the professional game for youngsters, not least the founding of the qualifying school, which took place a couple of years ago. Now, it takes place each year after the World Championships in Sheffield. Hundreds of ambitious players from all around the world are vying for the right to claim some 12 places on the main snooker tour. Now, the model is very similar to that which we've seen in professional golf. Been a terrific success so far, and this season came the announcement that the graduates are going to earn not 1 year but 2-year exemption to play on the tour, and that the size of the tour itself is shortly going to increase significantly from 96 to 128 players. And the chairman of our governing body, the WPBSA, Jason Ferguson's with us. Lovely to see you, Jason. It's great to have a success story to reflect upon. Just tell us the reasons why you've decided to expand the exemption from 1 to 2 years.
Well, I think it's really down to players' settling in period. I think if we look at the players, there's a large number of players that have come on the tour over the years that have actually played for 1 year, perhaps not quite settled in. There's all sorts to think about. There's the nerves. There's a number of players who who are travelling around the world, living away from home at a very young age, and all these things have affected people going forward and players staying on the tour. So the 2-year tour exemption will mean a player will have a year to settle down, and he won't fall off the tour if he doesn't earn enough ranking points. He will stay on for an extra season, and after that 2 years, then obviously those places will come up for renewal again.
Of course, and I mentioned the golf model. It is rather similar in that respect, but